In April 2025, one Instagram story may have changed everything for Meghan Markle. Not because it was loud, not because it was scandalous, but because hidden inside a perfectly polished diplomatic letter were two words that detonated like a bomb inside palace walls. Your Royal Highness. 2 words. That's it. 2 words sitting quietly at the top of a public post viewed by millions, and according to insiders close to Prince William, that post may have crossed the one line the royal family warned Meghan never to cross again.
Harry and Meghan Markle split from the royal family. They'll formally step down as senior royals March 31st, and there's controversy
for royal duties. Consequently, they will no longer use their HRH titles, but they will retain them.
In Prince Harry, the titles Duchess of Sussex and Duke of Sussex, respectively, when they married in 2018.
Expected to appear on some female-oriented podcasts and events, like following in Gwyneth Paltrow's footsteps.
When they brought in Meghan Markle and her husband, what did they do? Like a $20 million deal? And so now they're cutting.
No other way to spin it, is there? She and Harry have been a massive disappointment for Netflix.
Yeah, I feel like we had
She believed in women, she believed in her own power, and she wasn't afraid to reach out and say, I want my power.
In the commercial to people all over America. And, it's funny to look back at it now. Because
Meghan Markle, I'm Sussex now. You have kids and you go, no, I share my name with my children.
Yes.
And her attempts to seek out professional help and how she was met with denial and indifference from Buckingham Palace.
She wasn't necessarily popular when life was difficult.
This Samantha Cohen would reach out to us. I've had a lot of people reach out to me about Meghan and Harry. People who...
Let's move along to Harry and Meghan. They've lost yet another publicist, former Netflix senior director.
Ninaki Pretty is actually the exception in the Disposable Friends series for Meghan Markle.
Jessica Mulroney, Meghan Markle's one-time best friend, whose children played a very prominent role in Meghan's wedding.
I really liked her. I just think she's a slight social climber, I'm afraid. And when I see the way, look, at her wedding, there was only one member.
It actually opens the door also to when William becomes king, quite reasonably stripping Harry of his title. And
newspaper journalist said that William despises his brother now. So that relationship is over.
Former title, Her Royal Highness, despite the fact that she and Harry stepped in.
For years, people treated the Sussex drama like celebrity entertainment. Family feuds, interviews, podcasts, hurt feelings wrapped in designer clothing. But behind the gossip, behind the Netflix cameras and smiling photo shoots, there has always been one cold legal reality sitting untouched on the official royal website since January 2020. The Sandringham Agreement, the deal, the exit contract, the moment Queen Elizabeth allegedly gave Harry and Meghan a graceful escape route while protecting the monarchy at the same time. And buried inside that agreement was one condition so specific, so deliberate, it now looks terrifying in hindsight. They would not use their HRH titles publicly or commercially. Period. That was supposed to be the firewall. The compromise. They kept Duke and Duchess titles, but the royal machinery believed the outrage branding would disappear quietly into history. Except it never really disappeared, did it? Because every few months, another strange little moment appeared. Another reminder, another accidental use of royal identity floating into public view. And every single time critics noticed the same thing, Meghan never corrected it. Sometimes she amplified it. That Ukraine letter changed the temperature instantly because this time it felt too obvious. The vice president's letter opened with Your Royal Highness, and Meghan uploaded it exactly as it was. No blur, no crop, no clarification. Just sitting there for millions of followers like a glowing neon sign reminding the world she still carries royal status. And palace insiders reportedly exploded behind the scenes. One source close to Prince William allegedly told the Daily Beast, "You'd have to be an idiot to believe she didn't know exactly what she was doing." That's not frustration anymore. That sounds personal, calculated, final, and suddenly people started connecting dots they ignored before. The Netflix correction, the gift baskets, the Sussex branding, the lifestyle empire. Because once you start looking closely, the pattern gets uncomfortable fast. Remember the moment with Mindy Kaling on Netflix? Sussex. Mindy casually called her Meghan Markle during filming, and Meghan immediately corrected her on camera. "You know I'm Sussex now." That line sounded harmless to some viewers, cute even. But critics heard something completely different. They heard a woman carefully reinforcing the very identity she supposedly agreed not to commercially exploit. Then came the gift baskets reportedly sent using her styling. Again, maybe small on their own, but stacked together, the optics become impossible to ignore because this isn't happening privately among friends. These moments keep appearing inside commercial environments, streaming platforms, branding campaigns, celebrity circles, public products, and now palace watchers believe Prince William has been quietly watching every single one. That's what makes this story different from ordinary royal gossip. There's a growing feeling that the monarchy isn't angry anymore. It's documenting, waiting, building a file, and while all this title drama exploded publicly, something else started collapsing behind closed doors: the money. One by one, massive deals began disappearing like lights shutting off in an empty mansion. First, Spotify, then Netflix, then publishing contracts. Each collapse came with whispers, quiet statements, industry leaks, executives suddenly sounding colder than expected. Spotify hurt especially badly because it wasn't just cancellation, it was humiliation. Executive Bill Simmons publicly called them frauds. Not difficult, not misunderstood. Frauds, that word echoed through Hollywood like poison because executives usually protect relationships publicly, even failed ones. But this felt different. Bitter, personal, like expectations behind the scenes had completely imploded. Then Netflix, the company that reportedly handed Harry and Meghan a deal worth around $100 million. At first, the partnership looked untouchable. Royal access, royal storytelling, global fascination. It was supposed to become one of the defining celebrity media empires of the decade. Instead, by March 2026, reports claimed Netflix quietly walked away. No dramatic war, no screaming headlines, just silence, which somehow felt worse. And insiders allegedly summed up the mood inside the company with 4 brutal words: "We're done with them." That sentence landed like a funeral bell because Netflix doesn't casually abandon global brands after investing that kind of money. Something clearly shifted, something broke, and suddenly critics started asking the question nobody wanted to say out loud. What exactly were these companies buying in the first place? Was it Meghan herself, Harry himself, or was it the royal mystique attached to those titles? Because strip away the Duchess branding and what's left? That question suddenly became dangerous. The publishing world reportedly followed next. Penguin Random House allegedly let a massive deal expire without renewal. Again, silence, no celebration, no future roadmap. Just another giant institution quietly stepping backward at the exact same time palace tensions were escalating forward. And now insiders believe those worlds are colliding. Because if Prince William eventually becomes king and decides to formally strip titles, the damage may not stay symbolic. Critics are already throwing around terms like material misrepresentation, arguing that commercial deals built around royal branding could face uncomfortable legal scrutiny later. Whether that actually happens is another question entirely, but the fear itself is now part of the story. And fear spreads fast in Hollywood boardrooms. What makes this even darker is the growing obsession with Meghan's old origin story, the famous Procter & Gamble letter narrative she told for years. The story where 11-year-old Meghan supposedly changed a sexist commercial through activism and courage. It became the foundation of her public image, the feminist prodigy, the girl who challenged corporations and won. She repeated it at the United Nations, on global stages, in interviews. It became mythology. Then cracks allegedly started appearing. Vanity Fair reportedly struggled to verify parts of it. Advertising historians couldn't confirm key details. No confirmed Hillary Clinton letter ever surfaced publicly. And then her own father, Thomas Markle, complicated everything further by suggesting it may have been part of a larger school campaign rather than a solo activist victory. That changed the emotional tone completely, because suddenly critics weren't just questioning business deals anymore, they were questioning the biography itself, the foundation, the mythology. And once people start asking whether the origin story was exaggerated, they begin re-examining everything else too. That's where the atmosphere around Meghan has become genuinely dangerous, not because of one scandal, but because every old controversy is now being pulled together into one giant narrative. The titles, the branding, the contracts, the friendships, the staff departures, the interviews, the storytelling, all of it suddenly feels connected by critics into one much bigger accusation, that the Sussex empire may have been built almost entirely on perception. And according to palace insiders, Prince William may be preparing the final move. But the deeper people looked, the stranger the entire Meghan Markle story started to feel. Because suddenly, it wasn't just about titles anymore. It was about patterns. Patterns inside friendships, patterns inside staff exits, patterns inside public narratives. And critics began asking an uncomfortable question nobody in Hollywood wanted to say too loudly: why does chaos seem to follow every room this brand enters? The palace bullying allegations became impossible to ignore once the numbers surfaced. 18 staff departures connected to the Sussex operation in 6 years. 18, that number hangs over this entire story like smoke. These were not random interns disappearing quietly into the background. These were experienced professionals from one of the most controlled institutions on earth, Buckingham Palace itself. People trained to survive pressure, secrecy, impossible schedules, media warfare. Yet according to reports, they kept leaving anyway. And then came Samantha Cohen. That detail shook royal watchers badly because Cohen wasn't inexperienced. She spent nearly 2 decades serving the royal family at the highest level. When Meghan entered royal life, Cohen became one of the key people assigned to help guide her through the machine. But what was supposed to be a short transition reportedly stretched far longer because replacements allegedly kept collapsing under pressure. One replacement was even flown to Africa during a royal tour to learn the role firsthand and reportedly quit before the tour even ended. That detail spread through royal circles like wildfire because it sounded unreal. A future palace aide leaving mid-tour on another continent? That's not normal palace drama. That's panic. Then came the bullying investigation. Quiet, controlled, almost buried. Buckingham Palace reportedly launched an independent inquiry after allegations surfaced publicly. And what terrified people wasn't just the investigation itself, it was the fact Queen Elizabeth allegedly approved it personally. Think about that. A reigning monarch funding an investigation into her own grandson's household. The palace never fully released findings publicly, which only intensified speculation. Silence became suspicious, and Meghan's team immediately framed the accusations as a calculated smear campaign timed around the Oprah interview. But critics noticed something else. Multiple witnesses reportedly participated. Senior aides, professionals with reputations, people who normally never speak. Then the friendship stories resurfaced, and suddenly the internet began connecting everything together into one brutal narrative. Her childhood friend Nanaki Pretty, 30 years of history, sleepovers, vacations, weddings, then suddenly nothing. No public explosion, no dramatic betrayal, just complete silence, frozen out. Pretty later described Meghan as very calculated in how she handled relationships, and those words haunted royal gossip circles because they matched accusations already circulating elsewhere. Then Jessica Mulroney, another once unbreakable friendship. Another sudden disappearance after controversy became inconvenient. Critics began describing a chilling pattern. People close to Meghan seemed deeply important right up until the moment they became liabilities. And the internet gave that phenomenon a nickname so savage it practically became folklore Markle. The idea that someone could be completely erased once they no longer served a purpose. Fair or unfair, that phrase exploded online because too many former allies appeared to fit the pattern. Even Piers Morgan entered the mythology. One drink, one meeting. Then, allegedly, total silence forever after she met Harry. Again, maybe coincidence individually, but collectively, people began treating these stories like puzzle pieces, revealing personality traits hidden underneath years of glossy PR. And if that happens, the consequences may become catastrophic for the Sussex brand. Because whether supporters admit it or not, the royal connection has always been the center of gravity holding everything together. The interviews, the documentaries, the speaking engagements, the streaming deals, the humanitarian image, the luxury branding, even the controversy itself. Remove Duchess of Sussex from the equation and suddenly the architecture looks frighteningly fragile. That's the nightmare now haunting Montecito. Not bad headlines, not trolls online, not palace leaks. Something much worse, irrelevance. Because institutions survive scandal. Monarchies survive scandal, but celebrity brands built on mystique, those can collapse overnight once the illusion breaks. And critics believe that's exactly what's happening in real time. Netflix gone, Spotify gone, publishing deals fading, public trust cracking, fact checkers revisiting old stories, former allies speaking carefully but critically, palace insiders allegedly preparing for future action. The timing of all this feels almost surgical. And looming over everything is Prince William himself, quieter than Harry, colder than Charles, and according to royal insiders, far less interested in compromise. That's what makes this story feel dangerous now. Meghan and Harry spent years fighting emotional battles in public, but William allegedly operates differently. No interviews, no emotional speeches, just patience, structure, timing, which is why critics believe the monarchy's final response may not come through tabloid warfare at all. It may come through paperwork, a decree, a legal adjustment, one signature removing the foundation underneath an entire commercial empire. And if that day comes, the question Meghan Markle has spent years outrunning becomes unavoidable. Without the title, who exactly is left standing when the cameras finally stop rolling?